Hey Anna, how you doing?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, good. It's really good to connect again. It's been a little bit. I know that a lot was going on with COVID, but it's been awesome like following your journey at Texas. And we're really excited to have you as our like first guest as like this athlete series that we're going to start doing about Washtenaw Rowing Center. And we were super lucky to have someone like of your caliber come in, and I think coaches like to take a little bit too much credit for athletes that come across their door, and we are going to be the first to acknowledge that you came to us like casually pulling like a 712, and you were kind of a novice and you had like a great time at camp, and just wanted to ask you about your experiences at camp and like your rowing journey. And like we've just been excited to be a small part of that, but just yeah, I want to hear more from you and how everything's going.
Yeah, so like you said, um, I kind of heard about Washtenaw Rowing Center and the Canadian Henley camp kind of when I was starting to go through the recruiting process. So I was like pretty much a novice, had no rowing, very little rowing experience other than like the very basics. So I came to camp a little over my head. Like the first week, I was like, I don't even know how to square and feather my blade. Like, what is backing in my blade? Like, I don't know what that means. Um, but came in, the coaching staff, the kids there were so welcoming. And I was like, my goal at this camp is just to soak in as much knowledge as I can because I know that I want to row at the next level and like can be successful. And Washtenaw Rowing Center was like the perfect place for me to do that. Like genuinely. I learned so much about rowing and got better, but I think the biggest thing was I just learned a ton and was able to soak in a ton of information, not only from the coaches, but the other kids that were there too.
That's yeah, that's awesome. You're very kind. Yeah, and we it's just been fun to like watch your experiences, and like you've had some pretty unique ones going from like very novice, like you said, and it's kind of cool. And then you had this like meteoric rise, and because what you're now a three-time national champion and two-time world champion. Did I get that right?
Two-time national champion and two-time world champion.
There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Just hopefully we'll make it three this year, right? Uh,
Yeah.
and so how was that transition from high school to Texas? That's obviously a big shift, and I know that you were a competitive swimmer beforehand, which is awesome. Like multi-sport athletes, I think thrive. I think with especially with a sport like rowing.
Mhm.
But yeah, how was that transition going to Texas?
It was hard. Like coming into Texas, I was probably a little more confident than I should have been. I came in and I had done a lot of sculling that summer, because of COVID. So I was like pretty competent in a single and the sculling boats. But then when we switched to the bigger sweeping boats and the eights, I was a little further behind kind of like the skill level than I thought. But I think the biggest thing was like I came into Texas very fit. So when we were doing fitness tests on the erg and on the bike erg and all of that, like I was pulling good numbers and like very competitive with the rest of the kids. So Dave, my coach at Texas, kind of saw that and was like, this kid has a lot of potential. She works hard. So we're gonna coach her and like put the effort and intention onto her so that she can like see that potential that she's doing on the fitness machines, like on the water. So I think just that kind of combination of coming in fit, but then also like being ready to learn and having a coach that did believe in my potential was like really big in helping me improve so fast once I got here.
That's awesome. And it sounds like a sort of really nice, healthy balance of like you got that big shock transition, but then you you were able to make your way with the support of the coaches and athletes. That's absolutely fantastic. I'm really excited to hear
Hmm.
that. And then I'm going to give you some two final questions. The how can you encapsulate your experience at the World Championships? Like, what was that like? Like, I mean, obviously you won, but like, there's a whole process that goes into that. Like, can you encapsulate that for us?
Yeah, so my two experiences at the World Championships looked pretty different. So the first year, which was right after my freshman year of college, I rowed in the eight, the women's eight, and that was a camp boat. So I went to the selection camp out in Iowa City for US rowing and seat raced and did erg tests and stuff and made my way into the eight. And then went to Prague, the Czech Republic, for Worlds with girls from a bunch of different schools and um, people that I had just met that summer, and it was a very unique experience and really cool to like come from Texas, which had just won the national championship, and then um, row with other girls from really successful programs too, and like make a boat go fast with not a lot of practice together. Um, and then my second time at the World Championships was in the straight four with all Texas girls. And so we qualified that boat through the US rowing trials. And that was a really fun process. My coach at Texas, Dave O'Neill, coached that boat in the summer as well. So we were working with girls that we had rowed with all year, with a coach that, worked with us day in and day out and like knew our strengths, knew our weaknesses, and just kind of figured out how to make that boat go really fast this summer. And we're able to take Texas to the world level and kind of show like what we do here and go beyond just like NCAAs and race against people from other countries and the rest of the world. And
Right.
it was a really cool experience.
And
And
you
yeah,
got to
just
do it
like,
in one of the most fun boats. The straight four is
yeah,
like so much fun. It's great.
yeah, it's really fun. It would like when we first got in it that first day, we were like, oh my gosh, this is a little different than a Cox 4, like not as set. We were like not going very straight the first day, like figuring out all those things, but then by the end of the summer, like getting up to speed in that, it would fly down the course. So it was really fun, like the learning curve of that boat too. But yeah, it's just fun. It was such a cool opportunity to race against people from other countries, like when you're next to, like we were next to the German boat and the coxswains not speaking English, like things like that, um, it's a really unique experience, and it opens your perspective of and like how rowing is all the same, but so many different people from different backgrounds can be successful.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And then finally, I think if you could change one thing in rowing in our community tomorrow, any level or whatever it might be, what would you do and why?
Um, so I think I would just make rowing more accessible. I've actually been able at the University of Texas to talk about this topic in some of my classes. I'm a sport management major, so this is kind of like my go-to example. But I think, especially for in areas where they don't have as many resources, ability to get on the water, just socioeconomic factors really limit a lot of great athletes from going far in our sport. And so I think the rowing community can do a better job at not only introducing people that might not have as easy of an access into the sport into rowing, but also helping them reach like the highest levels of the sport and supporting them more financially throughout the way to make it not so closed off to a large group of athletes.
That's awesome. Well, I really appreciate your time today. We're going to be following you closely over the spring season from afar. If anyone watching this wants more information about what we do here, you can follow us at Washtenaw Rowing Center. And Anna, just have an amazing day today, and we'll be looking forward to seeing you soon.
Thanks so much, Kit.